This week on the Rental Report Review. Doing things a little different this week. I was out of town on vacation last week and wasn't able to take any rentals with me, so I'm dipping into my cache of movies I bought but haven't watched yet. Mon Oncle, PlayTime, Trafic, Lives Well Lived. I will be butchering some French, so be prepared. I was kind of struggling with the way to talk about these three movies without being redundant. I think I'm going to go ahead and just talk about all three, and actually all four. I'm going to include Monsieur Hulot's Holiday. But at least watching the last three back-to-back led me to look for themes that were running through each of these films. In each of these increasingly less human locations, Tati is looking for a way to play. His camera wanders through these locations almost like a wandering child, stopping to watch the absurdity, stopping to nudge your friend to look at the craziness that's going on. I give Mon Oncle 4 stars.
A 1, a 2, a 1, 2, 3, 4.
In Playtime, it's this very isometric, glass and steel, mid-century dream nightmare of the modern city, where everything seems to be working almost against convenience, even though its supposedly sole purpose is convenience and efficiency. I think he's reminding and encouraging us to play, but I think he's also probably reminding himself. I mean, these movies are coordinated within an inch of their life. Right? I think these movies are as much obviously about Tati himself as they are about the world. I think he knows what goes awry when you try to plan with such precision. That's what these movies are. They're very Kubrickian. They're very Kafka-esque, right? They're very much about well-operated machines not operated as well-operating machines. And sort of like in the face of this rotting tyranny of our own invention, we have to remember that play is how we get through things, how we discover things. It's how we find love. It's how we find connection. I give Playtime 5 stars. It's an incredible achievement on every level. It's the culmination of all of Tati's preoccupations. It has incredible vignettes, music, obviously blocking, and a beautiful, subtle love story that's almost silently woven through the background. I mean, it is the most curiously and maybe revealingly titled of all these movies, right? Why not call it Modern City or something like that, right? Like, it's called Playtime. Tati just keeps turning the camera to these little scenes where people are playing not only with each other, but with the environment itself. And each moment within the movie is playing with the scene before it, the scene after it, and it always seems to build to some point. Maybe the larger point of this film in particular is that we've always been like this. There's old Paris reflected often in the glass structures, and not necessarily in a way to distinguish one from another, but to kind of point to the timelessness of this. I don't know, maybe I'm reaching here. But as long as there have been humans living in societies, there have been rules, and there have been rules falling apart. And I think what's gotten us through all of it has been play. And I think even in this semi-future city, Tati is still finding ways to play. It's a masterpiece. I don't know if I have a slight case of Tati fatigue, but I definitely want to revisit this one. My initial impression is that while it is masterful, it feels... I'm not entirely sure what it's missing, but coming off of Playtime, it would have been interesting to see him take the abstraction of the setting to a higher degree or to a more documentarian feel. One of the things I kept thinking over and over again watching these 3 films in a row, what is the fundamental element of cinema? Or what makes something cinematic? It's definitely not shallow depth of field, that's for sure. I think what makes something feel cinematic is when you watch the action, the process of action or transformation. I have to think more about this. But Tati packs more layers of action, of cinema per frame than probably just about anybody out there. And it's clean and coherent. And funny. It's always great to see a black and white filmmaker transition into color. This is just another example of how working in a limited palette of grays really trains you how to focus, how to direct focus and attention. I would say I give Trafic 3.75 stars. Like I said, I'm definitely going to revisit. But you should watch this, you should watch PlayTime, you should watch Mon Oncle, you should definitely watch Monsieur Hulot's Holiday, and just bask in their calculated beauty.
My definition of a life well lived.
That's a really interesting question.
I mean, I just lived my life one day at a time, and I did everything the way I thought I should do it.
In full disclosure, I am currently working on a documentary with this film's director, Sky Bergman. I was connected with her to work on a trailer for another feature that she's working on. And one thing that I notice in both films is that Sky manages to get some really amazing stories out of people. I have a little bit of privileged knowledge, but I can say that Sky leaves so much room for her subjects to explore their stories, their thoughts about those stories. She knows what questions to ask to get the full kind of scope of the experience of living through something.
The whole civil rights movement was a big thing for me. I would be on the picket lines all the time.
Lives Well Lived is a series of life stories, and each one is equally profound in its own way, sometimes loudly, sometimes quietly, sometimes hilariously, but each one of them is complete. I felt completely satisfied with each one, found myself smiling after each story.
I am still married and always will be married.
My friends, they said, oh, I'm getting too old, I can't do this, I can't do that. And I said, oh, free with that. If you say, I can't do it, then you won't be able to do it. Just go out and do it.
It's so pure in its intent and execution. I give Lives Well Lived 3.5 stars. It's just spilling over with so much humanity. It's beautiful.
Which is your good side?
I don't have a good side. They're all bad sides.
Thank you so much for watching. You can follow me on Instagram and X to see what movies I'm renting next, and pretty much everything is on my letterbox.